Guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be teaching you people on how to make this segmented trouser, this trouser that has these segments and demarcations. So let us start. First, I've drawn my trouser block. You can see that it's an A-line block, and I kept the A-line is just about I used them 2.5 inches. I took it in by 2.5 inches. So basically it's a, you can see that the trouser is actually a big trouser. They gathered it at the waist, so everything is exaggerated. All the measurements are exaggerated. Like the lady now, her hip, her actual hip is 45, but I'm using hip 60. Everything is exaggerated. So you are seeing the trouser block. I used a distance of 11 inches for the flap, right? And since the trouser has two demarcations, I kept an extra 3 inches for all the cuts and joining that we're going to do. For all the cutting and joining we're going to do on this trouser, I kept an extra 3 inches for that. So let us start now. I want to start my demarcations. So I'm starting from 27. That's the first demarcation. So I draw my line. Then I'm doing the first demarcation is, you sure the two demarcations are 3 inches wide, 3 inches length, sorry. So I'm doing it 3 inches, so I'm rolling it at 30 again. So now the second demarcation is going to be from 37. And 40. So now we cut. So we'll do the same for the back, then we'll show you how it's being sewn and get back to you. Okay, so I forgot to tell you guys, so you have to mark your demarcation so that you don't mix it up, right? So this is 1, of course. This is the upper one, this is 1, then this is 2, right? Then you also have to, another thing you do to help you is to notch it as far you do your, so that you know which one is facing the center, the center, right? So you would notch it at this point so that you know which is facing the center. Then you would mark this three, although it's also easier to get because it has the self edge, but it's still good to mark and notch it at this point, then mark this point, right? Okay, so we're cutting the back now. We are cutting the back and we are adding our extra 2 inches as usual. So now it's time to start putting our pieces together. If you notice, this is the point I marked 2. This is the segment that I marked 2. This is the number 2 segment, right? And remember that I notched the inside seams. I notched the inside seams, so I made sure that I was sewing the inside seams for one part. It differs from the inside seams for the other part of the trousers. So you have to be careful so that you don't mix the inside seam of the front of both trousers of both legs of the trouser. So now I'm sewing the seams together. Number 2. Make sure you notch one part so that you know which is the inside seam and the outside seam. So I'm also going to do that. I've done it for the first leg. Now I'm doing that again for the second leg. Very important. It's important to mark all your segments so that you know what you're doing and make sure the seams rhyme. It's very, very important. So now we are sewing the second leg. We're sewing the pieces, number 2 piece of the second leg. All right. So, okay, we are sewing the second side now. Now, okay. Okay, so now that we are done doing this, now we want to mark our points. We want to mark the points where we'll put our bands. Now we have to first, I placed the trouser, I placed that number 2 piece, I placed the part together. Then I marked the middle of the front. I made sure I marked the middle of the front and the back. Now, it's very important to mark the middle of the front and the back so that you know exactly where to put your points in between. Of course, you're not putting any band in the middle, but you have to mark that middle so that you know exactly where to put the points in between. So these are my points, my in-between points. Now I'm going to notch it. I'm going to clip it for both the front and the back. I'm going to take a hair and clip it for both the front and the back. The other way too, for both the front and the back. Then, as I've done that, I'm going to trace the same measurement down. Remember that the number 2 segment is the segment that connects to number 1 and also connects to number 3. So the upper segment of number 2 connects to number 1. Then the bottom segment of number 2 connects to segment number 3.
All these are very important. So I traced the same measurements down. Made sure it was the same thing. It has to be the same thing. It has to be perfect. Perfect. Has to be, the measurement has to be perfect. So it's 6¼ in between. Then I also now notch my points for both the front and the back. Very important. You have to notch both together so that you don't make mistakes. Very, very important. Okay. Now that we have done that, we'll also do same for the second leg. Then we now continue. Now we are sewing the bands. Now these bands, I cut them 3 inches on fold. Right? That's 6 inches altogether. Then by the time you turn the band, it now becomes 2½ inches. That's 2½ inches on fold. Right? Now you have to place these bands in between the notched points. In between. They have to be placed in between the notched points. And so that means you have to know exactly the middle of this band. Now, this same thing you're doing, you're going to repeat it for all of them, for both the upper part, for both the segment number 1 and, yeah, as in the notched points. What I mean is that those notched points that we put for segment number 2, both up and down, we'll also put it at the bottom of segment number 1 and the upper part of segment number 3. The same notched point has to be put. Now we're putting the band. For the seams, right? For the side seams, both inside and outside, for the side seams, both inside and outside seams, we are going to put another band in between the seams. In between the seams. Very important. You are going to put another band there. Then you now do the same for the notch points at the back too. That's how it will go round. So that's how it will go around. So that means the 2 notched points at the center front and the center back, then the 2 seams, inside and outside seams. You're going to put this band. That is what makes the trouser. So we finished the upper part. We finished the upper part for one of the number 2 segments, and we'll do the same for the bottom part. The same thing, we're going to repeat same thing, putting it in between the notched points and in between the inside and outside seams. Now, I forgot to tell you. Remember that the width of the demarcated point, the width of the demarcation is 3 inches. Now, of course, you're going to be making a band, cutting a band of 4 inches in length. 4 inches in length. Very important. The band has to be 4 inches in length so that by the time you finish sewing it, it now goes back to being 3 inches demarcation. Very important. So that means you put an extra 1 inch on the band to get your, space correct. So the same thing. So these same bands now, you'll be attaching it to the upper part of number 1 and the bottom part of number 1 and the upper part of number 3. So this is the result of our trouser paired with an organza top. And this is how it came out. So beautiful. We hope you understood the tutorial and we hope you would also try yours. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.